And welcome back to 35,000 Watts, the podcast. My name is Michael Millard. I'm the director of 35,000 Watts, the story of college radio, a feature documentary about our favorite subject, college radio. And this episode is the very first in a series of episodes where my co-host Lisa will interview college radio alumni.
Today we have a special guest, Marc Arot from WRFT. Thanks for joining us, Marc.
Thanks, Lisa. Great to be here. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, so tell us your story.
I went to Temple University from a high school in Philadelphia. Me and my best friend decided to go to Temple University Ambler campus, which is a satellite campus of the main campus. We decided through a mutual friend of ours who was already involved to join the college radio station at that time, WRFT. It was just really free-form, really small. The main campus of Temple had a big world-renowned jazz station, and students couldn't get a touch of working and having on-air shifts at that station. So the Ambler campus had this little tiny radio station where people who majored in communications, radio, television, film would have a place to go and get an air shift. It was all volunteer run, no budget, had to fundraise everything. It's basically a converted closet.
So there's something really unique about that station that you shared with me in the past.
It was a really small station. It was 5 watts when I first joined. It was a carrier current, which I couldn't believe your documentary even got into that topic. But it was basically we were hardwired into the cafeterias on campus and the dorm. And then we bumped up to 20 watts, which was all that coverage of maybe a mile around campus. We were small. Sometimes I was doing that show, I was wondering if anyone was listening. We were a real small station, and I was music director of the station in the late 80s. We believe we were one of the first stations to play the Dead Milkmen and have the Dead Milkmen
love that
in their station.
band.
Yep, they were Philadelphia-based, and they were just trying to get their music heard anywhere and everywhere. My best friend John, who I talked about before, he somehow got a hold of their music. Their Big Lizard in Our Backyard album. And we just played it to death. And my friend John reached out to them, brought them onto our show. Him and I did a show together first, at my first couple years of college. And we had them on. They signed albums, hung out in a radio show all day. Later that year, our station had the responsibility of running the annual talent show on campus. We had a local, all people, any Temple student could perform and be part of it. We used to have local celebrity judges. And I believe later that year, we invited the Dead Milkmen to be judges. I'm not sure if it was all of them, some of them, who it was. It was a long time ago, but we firmly believe we started them on their path.
That's awesome. So what's your favorite Dead Milkmen song?
Well, it's got to be Bitchin' Camaro. That's the one that took root, at our station and got everyone totally into them.
And they are such a great example of college radio music.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They're out there. They're fun. For you, they were the local aspect, which is one thing that we love to talk about for college radio, is giving those local bands exposure. And, they had out there lyrics. They had out there musicality. So what a great example and what a fun experience you got to have with them.
There was also, and this just hit me, there was also a gentleman who was on our radio station. He kind of trained me. He was graduating as I was coming in, a guy named Frank Brown. He basically was in a band called Flight of Mavis. I don't know if you heard of them. They're more famous locally. They had a little bit of college radio success, but he was part of our station as well.
We see a lot of that in this college radio journey we've been on. Bands that get their members on the station or members that go on to make bands and be successful. You did that, right?
Yeah, I had a latent ability to play. After I graduated and stopped WRFT, there was a big hole in my life. You're watching your documentary and listening to your first 2 podcasts, you didn't realize you were onto something good until after you left. And after I left, there was just a big hole in my life, not having that music, that camaraderie. So I just decided to pick up a musical instrument because that whole 5 years of college radio just inspired me to do that. Seeing live shows, seeing bands, meeting people in bands. It just inspired me to do that. I started playing keyboard and piano and realized I was picking up by ear the bass notes. And a couple of my buddies, played guitar as hobbyists, and I just bought a bass and just started doing that. My wife, who we were dating at the time, her best friend's brother was a singer-songwriter and just broke up with his band. And she kind of nudged us together, and him and I have been playing music together for the last 30 plus years. It's a band called Don McAvoy and a Great Whatever, dmcgw.com for the cheap plug. But we just play all original musics, and I just lay bass lines down to his original songs. Got a YouTube page, Facebook page, and all that. But semi-famous locally. Comes and goes.
So yeah, you mentioned that you listened to the first 2 episodes in the podcast, and I'm sure that you remember that my experience was like that too, in that after I left my college radio station, KTXT, I felt like I had a hole in my life. And one of the things I remember so greatly was like, God, I could have done so much more. I wish I would have done more. So going back to your time at WRFT, tell me what you thought you would have changed or wouldn't have changed.
I don't know. I was making up as I go along. I was just a young kid. I mean, I was there from 85 to 90. I went in, I was kind of a shy, reserved kid. I was starting to come out of my shell in high school. So I thought being part of the radio station would help with my public speaking and my organization skills and making new friends. I mean, the cool thing about that station was we had every different major in that college join the radio station. It was communications majors. I was a landscape design major and horticulture major, and then I converted to business administration. There's one guy in the radio station who became a doctor and runs a hospital in the Philadelphia suburbs. And just an amazing mix of people with an amazing mix of musical tastes. I mean, my only regret is that I didn't stay there longer and start earlier. I mean,
Yeah.
It was like we were like kids in a candy store. We get all these records for free as long as we reported it to CMJ. That led to, if we were reporting stuff to CMJ, whenever that band would come into town, they would give us tickets. And we go see shows for free at all the great local venues. And it was
magical, wasn't it? It was just magical.
It's amazing I had time for my schoolwork and part-time job and my life doing all that radio station activity, my show, behind the scenes stuff. We were making radio dramas at the time.
Oh, tell me more about that.
My friend John, who I joined the station with, he wrote and produced a 6-part science fiction series called Kilo de Soto and the Pizza-Loving Aliens from the Planet Bar Trek. And it was we just pulled in everybody from the radio station that we could, and we just had a blast making it. And then I wrote and produced a little one called Mr. Bill Goes to Temple Ambler.
Hey, yippee, it's my faithful dog, Spot. How are you doing today, Spot? Woof!
Come on, Mr. Bill. We have to go. You're going to be late for your class. Take Spot with you.
Yay, Spot gets to go to college with me. Yay! Woof!
You and Spot have to be real careful now, Mr. Bill.
Why do you say that?
Because we're about to cross Meeting House Road.
Wait, stop! Come back, Spot! Watch out for that car! Oh no! Why? Oh, Spot!
Boy, Mr. Bill, that car must have been doing about 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, somebody should do something about those speeders.
Now, do you have any of that in your amazing archives?
That was kind of a pandemic project for me. I realized, at the time, I just decided to start recording my radio show. I thought it would be a good thing to do, a good thing to have. Why at the time, I don't know. Just something told me to do it. Maybe it was my future self coming back and whispering in my ear to tell me to do it. I don't know, but the last 2.5 years of my radio station, I recorded almost every episode. And then they just sat in a box in my basement.
WRFT Ambler, Campus Radio 540 AM. Hello, welcome to Mark's Melody Shack. I'm your host, Mark. I'll be on until 12 o'clock this afternoon. And today is a very special day, of course. It's Valentine's Day. And Mark's Melody Shack today will be transformed into the Love Network. That's right. Every song you hear today will be by an alternative artist. And the word love will appear somewhere in its title. So it should be a lot of fun today. Also, please remember, at 11 o'clock, Mr. Bill Goes to Temple Ambler. That'll be the last time you'll hear it on my show before the regular radio drama start up next week. Also, before we begin, I'd like to thank everybody who showed up to our WRFT Alternative Dance last Thursday night. It wasn't really that crowded. About 20 people showed up, but all those people had fun, and they were all receptive to the new music and alternative music that we play, because that's what we do here at College Radio, and that's what College Radio is all about, opening your minds to new music. And speaking of opening your minds to new music and continuing with our little love theme here on Mark's Melody Shack Love Network, here's a song by a gentleman named Otis Ball. He is good friends with the group They Might Be Giants, and here's the title track of his album, I'm Gonna Love You Till I Don't. Right here on the Melody Shack, WRFT Ambler, Campus Radio 540 AM.
2020 came and I realized, I don't know if these tapes are going to last much longer. I better do something about it. So I found a local guy. It cost me like $600 to do it.
Dang, yeah.
It was worth every penny.
Totally.
Digitized them all, classified them all. You know, I wrote individual write-ups, playlists for each episode, posted them.
Man, what a project.
Pandemic again, you know, at the time,
Yeah.
I was at home, work wasn't busy, just needed something to do.
Well, that's been one of the challenges of putting the film together, was finding people like you that have amazing archives and have taken the time to already digitize it. You know, we were asking for content from the film from the very get-go because, you know, people like us just have old cassette tapes living in our basement somewhere. Have we digitized them? No. Could I even find mine? Maybe. You know, so thank you so much for sharing all that amazing content and the work that you put into it with your cataloging. I feel like you're one of the people that I could reach out to and go, hey, what were you doing about this song in 1986? And you would have a story behind it, you know, or you would have a reference point to go to. So thank you so much for being such a huge supporter of the film from the very get-go, and, you know, staying with us through the 2 or 3 years it took us to actually get it produced. And here we are doing the podcast, and I'm just thrilled to have you on our episode today. So how did you find out about our Kickstarter project and when we launched in 2022?
You found me.
I did.
I think
Okay.
you found me. I had posted all the show up to something called the Internet Archive,
Okay.
archive.org. Just search Mark's Melody Shack and you can find it. And I don't know, one day I'm on my Facebook feed, this thing from 30,000 watts pops up. You wrote it, and I don't know if you found it on Temple's website, because I may have shared it with Temple as well, my archive. And then you had a clip of my show. You had a little write-up about it, and then you found me, and then we started talking, and that was that.
So you had mentioned when you were going to college, you originally were a landscape architect major, and then you switched to business administration. Did your time in college radio maybe helped make that decision? Why the switch, and what from college radio helped you succeed in your career and where you're at now?
The landscape design degree was only an associate's program at Temple at the time. And, you know, I guess I wasn't going to make a living with an associate's degree. And I wanted to stay. I liked the campus and I wanted to stay longer. I love the radio station. I didn't want to leave it. And I figured, you know what? Everything in life is a business. So I decided to pursue my bachelor's in business. My dad used to get on me, you went to college for 5 years. I'm like, yeah, but I got 6 years worth of degrees. Got an associate's and a bachelor's in 5 years. So, but the radio station was a common thread through all of that. And it definitely helped make me a better speaker, more sociable, able to make friends, able to live off the cuff a little bit and do more with less, which is the business mantra of today.
And what did you end up doing? What was your career?
Well, I after I graduated, I worked for a landscape architect and land planner. But then I met my wife. We bought a house, got engaged, and I wasn't making much money there. So I totally flipped to construction project management. I worked for an outfit that renovated. I went to an outfit that renovated banks and sold bank equipment. Worked there for a few years. Then I got into windows and exterior facades. I worked for one company for like 4 years. And then the company I just stopped working for, I got laid off. I worked for them for 23 and a half years. I was basically a project manager in charge of all the projects and client contact and, you know, paperwork and all that. But definitely college radio helped me come out of my shell and be more of a people person, which was tough for me to do if you knew me when I was younger.
And now you're like this, playing in a band and, you know, the successful career, project management. Well, that is just awesome. And yay for you. Thank you so much for sharing that. How do you feel that your college radio experience contributed to the community? You're talking about this small 5 watts, 10 watts carrier current station. but how it had to have reached somebody.
I mean, people love that talent show we put on every year. That was a big thing on campus. People stroll into the station, make requests, call the station now and then. But most of us, we had all different kinds of shows. Most of us were doing 80s alternative underground stuff, but there were still classic rock shows, blues shows, pop shows, top 40 shows, all that. People would walk in this. We played anything. If anyone requested a song, we played it, regardless of your format, which was kind of funny. If someone's doing a blues show, that somebody comes in requesting like a dance song, it made for some funny moments. But yeah, some people were paying attention, and they kind of dug what we were doing. But at the time, 80s commercial radio, all it was Madonna, Michael Jackson, Phil Collins.
And here you are breaking bands like the Dead Milkmen.
Yep.
That's so cool.
Yeah, but at the time, no big deal. But looking back 30 years from now, it was pretty huge.
You were one of our first supporters of the Kickstarter. Thank you sincerely so much for your support in that project. As an early supporter of the Kickstarter, you had early access to the film when we were getting ready to release it. And I believe you watched it. You were probably one of the first views with some feedback. So tell me, what did you think of the film?
Like I said to my email to you and Mike when it happened, my biggest take was I felt less alone. At the time, I'm sitting in that little closet of a station in that little small campus, and I'm wondering if anyone's listening, if anyone cared about the songs that we were playing at all. I mean, my last show, I basically dedicated it to, that one person who may have been listening. If I changed your opinion or turned you on to some new music, then my 5 years was worth it. Yeah, and then hearing all the stories, seeing all the pictures and people with the same stories, it's like, wow, you know what? Looking back, we were on to something huge, but I don't think most of us knew it then. Most of us did not know. Most of us are probably thinking, what the hell are we doing with our lives? I told people, I majored in business, but I minored in college radio. I would have never graduated or survived without that station. The music and that station saved my life. There's just no doubt about that. No way I would have graduated without the station in my life. Not a chance.
I think that is a really good takeaway. And I bet if you asked a lot of us college radio alums, they'd say the same thing. Like, I know I've told Mike before, and I think I mentioned it in one of our podcast episodes, like, you go to college and there's the Greek system and they're the Greeks and the freaks, right? And I was not a Greek person by any means. And, my experience in college radio became what people might experience in the Greek organization or some, on a sports team or something like that. It was like its own club or its own intramural or its own, organization. I was also in a music program. I was a music ed major my first year in college, and I had a really tight-knit community from the marching band. I grew up in my college hometown, Lubbock, Texas. And so I knew all the marching band people all the way going back to junior high. And so I was hoping to go into college and be a music ed major. And, I had this great tight-knit community that I had been developing since I was, 12, 13 years old from middle school and on. And I got there and it was great and all. But at some point I had this epiphany where I didn't want to play music on my clarinet anymore. I wanted to play music on the radio, and I had been bitten by the radio bug. Like in junior high, there was a rock station that had a really great morning team, and the morning team came to our high school one day to do a live remote. And it was like, the gods were in the building, kind of thing. And, at that point, I'd always had radio in the back of my mind, but then I really got into music and like pop music, but like alternative music, not the Madonnas and the Whitney Houstons of the time. And so I actually took a job with a local entertainment guide, which led me into the radio station. And my doors were open. My mind was blown. And it was like, I love the way that you said that you majored in college radio, because that's kind of, well, you said minor, but I would say major. I majored in college radio. That's great.
Fine line between the two.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I guess minoring in college radio sounds a lot better than minoring in Latin, which is what I minored in.
I put serious thought into going into that field after I graduated. But, and a couple of my radio station companions actually did and are still in some aspects of radio.
That's awesome.
But I thought about it, and I didn't think the low pay and the vagabond lifestyle was for me. So I just decided to explore music in other ways. But I still make for a couple of my close friends. I started this in the early 2000s. I make them a mix CD of all the cool songs I used to play and all the cool songs I'm listening to now. Of course, it's stuff nobody's ever heard of, but a few of my close friends, I still make a variety disc every year for the
Well,
people
that's
who
one of
still
the
can play
things I
CD.
wanted to ask you.
Yeah,
Is even as a former music director, you've got to have a penchant for music,
yes.
not popular music. We'll just say that.
Correct.
So how do you find your new music today?
Uh, it's there if you look for it. I wish I had more time to listen to offbeat stations, but right now it's just so fragmented. Everything is everywhere. I don't even know where to get it anymore. I'm just so overwhelmed by the sources of it. I
Yeah.
rely on word of mouth with some of my friends. I mean, all of our radio station folks, we have a Facebook page, little private Facebook group. Sometimes we run into each other at concerts. Sometimes we intentionally get together to see concerts. And those folks, kind of say, hey, this is a great band. You should listen to that.
Yeah.
A lot of word of mouth gets me involved in new music.
But you're
Uh,
still involved in that community that you built,
yeah,
30, 40 years ago or however long. Yeah, that's
yeah,
great.
I mean, I can't wait to share this podcast with them. They're going to love it.
When you were at WRFT, did you ever have any issues come up where, there was a conflict or some tension between students,
Not,
maybe staff of the station, administration, anything like that?
Well, within the station, no. We were a team. We were a club. If anyone outside the organization did something to one of us, we'd all rally from each other. So within there's no tension at all. Uh, the people who ran the campus, the administration, yeah, we had some conflict with them because they didn't know we existed. We were kind of like the movie Office Space. Hey, it'd be great if you moved over there in that closet and we took your stapler. That'd be great. That's the way the administration treated us. So anything
Yeah.
we had to fundraise ourselves or find ourselves. We weren't getting any help from administration at all. They had their darlings that they funded and supported. Radio station was an afterthought. So yeah, eventually the radio station got closed down. I don't remember what year it was. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, finally vanished from the campus.
When you were there, you started at 5 watts and bumped up to 10?
20.
Okay. So
Yeah.
how did that happen?
I don't know. I was so far removed from the engineering side of it. I have no idea. I mean, I know they had some outside consultant, some kid who probably did it on his spare time. But I joke and said I was doing an '80s college radio show on equipment from the '50s, '60s, and '70s.
Yeah.
Held together with duct tape, chewing gum, and spit.
Yep. That's how
So
KTXT ran too.
yeah, yeah. But you guys had 35,000 watts. My life might have been different if I was broadcasting
Yeah.
on that kind of signal strength.
Well, if I remember correctly, it was because, Lubbock is a very wide open plain,
Yep.
and we got to share the tower with the local PBS TV station. So if
Yeah,
it wouldn't have been for that, who knows?
yeah. I don't think we could have increased wattages if we wanted to because it's still Philadelphia area. It was the
Yeah,
fourth biggest
crowded.
radio market at the time. So I'm
Sure.
sure
Ooh,
at the time. So I'm sure that if we boosted, we would have interfered with some relevant stations. Probably
all
FCC
right.
didn't
Well,
like that too much.
let me wrap it up with this
Sure.
last question. If you could go back and change anything, would you?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean,
Same here.
listening to my old archives was the closest I ever got to time travel.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Now it makes me want to go back and find mine.
Yeah, I want to change a thing. I think it was meant to happen the way it happened. I'm not one of those people who, regret decisions I make. Yeah, it is meant to happen the way it happened. So no
Okay, I'm
regrets.
going to throw you one more.
Okay.
What do you have to tell the current college radio station jockeys and student staff of today?
Keep going. Do it. Love it. Enjoy every last second of it. Just live in the moment. Don't worry about then. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about what's in the future. It's a waste of time. And live in the present and enjoy it now. Live it to every second.
Well, thank you, Mark. It has been fascinating chatting with you. I'm so glad that we finally got to talk in sort of real life on this podcast. Remind everyone of your website and your current band.
My current band's Don McAvoy and the Great Whatever, www.dmcgw.com. My old radio show archive is on archive.org. It's a site called the Internet Archive. And just in their search bar, just type in Mark's Melody Shack, and you'll
And it's
see hours of
MARC, right?
MARC. Thank you.
And don't forget, you can always catch the film yourself at 35000watts.com. You can download the film there. Leave us some podcast feedback if you want. Do you have a great story to share? We want to hear it. And you can find us on all the socials, 35,000 Watts. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok. And all of our podcasts are on YouTube as well. So thanks for joining us today. And as we always say in college radio, keep it locked to the left. We'll see you on the next episode.